Hello, today I'll explain the code I've written to complete the task of Assignment 3. Firstly, we will look in Visual Studio Code, which is a source code editor that you can use to edit, import, and create programs with countless different coding languages. For this assignment, Python was used, therefore the Python version 3.2 extension was downloaded and implemented. Without this extension, the code written would not be recognized and therefore not work. Looking at the code, there are a number of things that are occurring to result in the terminal printing out the statement. Starting on the first line, we have a code comment. These lines of text do not have a function outside of creating organization, separation, and giving the reader an understanding of what is going on. For the purpose of this presentation, we will ignore the rest of the code comments. Moving on to the next line, we have the first piece of code included in our program. It is telling the terminal to import the exterior Python library titled CSV, which serves the purpose of allowing us to create a program that can read files exterior to our program. In the next line, we declare a variable known as input file. By giving it a directory to the CSV file we are using for the values of the maze game for all 10 player types. This directory will need to be changed every time the file has been moved or renamed, therefore was changed when the code was moved from Codio. If the directory is not correct when the program is not correct, then the program will not be able to retrieve the information it is trying to retrieve, and a syntax error will be outputted. The next functional line of code creates an array/list for the columns of the CSV file. Following this, the next line of code tells the program to open and read the CSV file row by row. The next line is the start of a for loop, which will ask the program to read each index row by row until it is equal to 4, where it will then define a variable known as specific row as the row chosen for the program, and then end the for loop. The purpose of this is to tell the program where it will need to retrieve the data from. The next lines of code are known as variables. These are defined to make the program easier to understand, manage, and edit. For example, instead of inserting animal type every single time it needs to be used with the lengthy code, we can call upon the variable by using the name it was given. This is defined as a variable, and they were used to make the print statement. Each variable is given a name and then told what it must do each time this variable is called upon. For example, the height variable is told to insert the specific row, which is the 4th index, and retrieve the 5th element. From this point on, whenever the variable is called upon, it will always retrieve the 5th element of the 4th index unless the variable is overwritten. To understand how to call which element by its integer in the array, we must understand that arrays function by starting at the integer 0 and not 1 like normal maths. Furthermore, not only are just the numbers and text considered elements of the array, but also the commas that separate them. Additionally, some variables will need more than one element to be retrieved to properly output the right strings or integer. For example, the sound variable requires the program to spell out meow, which requires 4 elements to be retrieved in the right order. For this to work correctly, each element is called upon, separated by a plus sign, indicating that this variable requires these elements to be together when it is called upon later. A total of 8 variables are defined here and are used below to complete the print statement. The last couple of lines include the print statement. The code itself starts off by calling the print function. A function is a piece of code that will run a program when it is called upon. The difference between a variable and a function is their purpose. A variable, just like its name, will always store some sort of value, while its function will store a program. After the function print is called, it is followed by whatever needs to be printed inside 2 brackets. This print function includes all the variables defined above with the addition of strings. Strings are simply text that is printed by the print statement and are surrounded by speech marks. Every time the statement alters from a string to one of the variables, a plus sign is inserted. To let the program know that it is still a part of the print statement. Overall, this print statement uses 10 strings and 8 variables to complete the task. One challenge that had to be overcome was the addition of spaces between each string and variable. While this could be fixed by adding strings to just a space, the addition of a space before each string started was inserted to ensure the statement was readable. Once the print statement had been created, when running the code, the print statement is outputted to show the correct answers for player 3 with the string showing the context of each inserted variable. While the next two Python concepts were not used in the assignment, they are worth discussing. These are objects and classes. These two concepts are connected as an object can only be created through a class. Firstly, to create a class, you simply use the keyword class inside the code, followed by the name of the actual class. A class will not do anything unless it has attributes and methods inside of it, which are known as objects. Both objects and classes could be used in further developments of the game to develop and define the functionality of walls, monsters, and energies, easier than having to code them each time they are used. Instead, they can be classified as classes and then have objects within those classes to define their functionalities.